is all eyes on Bafana Bafana. They're wrapping up preparations ahead of Friday's Africa Cup of Nations qualifier against Ghana. And the team, the South African team, has been hampered, unfortunately, by unavailability of key European-based players due to COVID-19 related travel restrictions, as well as injuries. But Newzroom Afrika's Minentle Hlela is pitch side, has got his finger on the pulse. And Minentle, absolutely glad that you could make it to FNB Stadium and that they let you in to begin with. But you managed to have a small chat with the captain, Thulani Hlatshwayo, ahead of that practice session. What are some of the things, the points that he touched on?
Well, excitement, yet there's still calmness within this Bafana Bafana team, knowing that Ghana, they come up against Ghana at the FNB Stadium right here tomorrow night. Obviously, with destiny still in their hands to make sure that they qualify for Cameroon 2021 AFCON. It's excitement, yet they don't want to get too excited just as yet, and they're focusing on doing the job. Of course, if they beat Ghana tomorrow, that means on Sunday against Sudan, they don't have to stress about too much, meaning that it would have qualified. But for Molefi Ntseki and Captain Thulani Hlatshwayo, the main focus is to ensure that they get the 3 points, and they want to finish top of this group and make sure that, you know, when the pot comes, when they will be put in one of the favorite pots when they come out for the draw for the main event that will take in Cameroon. So there's a sense of calmness. 90% of the squad that Hlatshwayo was telling us that, you know, was made up of the team that qualified for Egypt in 2019. So they've been down this road before, where destiny is in their hands, and all they have to do, they have to do the business on the pitch and not have to rely on what we've seen for many times in the past, where South Africans will have to pull out the calculators and start doing the maths, who has to lose where and how much we have to win. Then none of that, you know, is going to happen just as yet. They're in control of their destiny. They want to make sure against Ghana they do the business, and from then on, Cameroon, here we come.
Yeah, but it's not going to be easy at all. Both of these sides are joint top of Group C on 9 points apiece, and we know that Ghana in the last 5 matches against Bafana Bafana haven't lost. They've got a really good record, so I'm pretty sure that the coach, that the players are really bracing themselves for what should be a really tough encounter.
I think the pros here for Bafana Bafana, like I said earlier on, is that 90% of the squad has been together in the last AFCON qualifiers. So it's a very big bonus for them. Yes, the likes of Zungu, Furman and Dolly not around, that is a minus for them. But Ghana are in the same situation as South Africa, where some of their European players or players from the UK and the France were not able to make it for this specific match. And let's look at that on why, you know, it was not possible for those players to make it. Now, since South Africa is on the red list of countries where Britain has put them on the list of countries that, you know, if you should want to enter Britain, and once again there's a quarantine period that you have to go through. So many of these players, the difficulty they would have had if they touch down in South Africa, before they can go back into UK, they'll have to have 12 days of quarantine. That means they'll at least missed 3 matches of their respective clubs. Now, as we know, as a footballer, missing 3 games, not because of injury, but because of other situation, is a big blow, because now your position or your place in the team then suddenly becomes threatened, as other players will be given an opportunity, and you never know if that player was given an opportunity, how well they will impress or how well they will do, and when you come back, you might find yourself on the bench. So many of these players found that, you know, it was really extremely difficult, especially with the club seasons slowly coming to an end and so many games taking place, and wanting to ensure that you cement your place in that in your club squad. It was very difficult for them to make this trip to South Africa. But however, in Sudan, which is a different case for Bafana Bafana players, they're not on that UK red list for countries, people traveling from their respective countries into the UK. So that's been a big bonus. So what we know so far, that Bongani Zungu will be available for the Sudan game. So Bafana Bafana initially, technically, need only 2 points from their last 2 games. But we've seen funny things happening before. So even if they lose against Ghana on Thursday night, against Sudan, they'll have to make the job. But a draw against Ghana, draw against Sudan should be enough. But like I said before, Molefi Ntseki, Captain Thulani Hlatshwayo want to make sure Against Ghana, it's done, it's dusted. We go to Sudan more relaxed.
Yeah, you say strange things have happened on the continent before, and that's because Bafana have generally been subjected to very hostile crowds whenever they have traveled. The beauty of COVID-19, if I could even term that, is that it's going to be played, I suppose, with a bit of social distancing if there are people in Sudan. And it's going to look pretty much on Friday like it does behind you now, with empty stands. So it really is up to the players, the technical ability, the nous of the coaches, more so than the intimidation factor that we always talk about when Bafana play north of our border.
And it can work both ways. I mean, Ghana will be coming here. They'll fancy their chances knowing that South Africa don't have a 12th man by their side. So they'll probably give it their all, knowing that there's still a very good chance that they'll be knocked out of the competition. Sudan, on the other hand, they also know they still have a chance. Now, talk is that Sudan might be allowing some fans, but at a limited number, into the stadiums because of their COVID situation. It seems to be under control. When I looked at the stats earlier on, they were averaging around about 30,000 cases with a recovery rate of just over 20,000. So it looks like it's one of those countries who are dealing with the situation far better than other countries. They were also one of the first countries that were able to get, the COVID-19 vaccines. So in terms of trying to control COVID-19 pandemic, they seem to be on top of their game. So that's why I was saying earlier on that there's even now talk that they might be allowed possibly a limited number of fans into the stadium to watch that Bafana Bafana game. That's why it's so crucial for Bafana Bafana to ensure that by the time they get to Sudan, they don't have to pull out any calculators, they're not under any stress. Because should there be a crowd, like you said earlier on, they've had very difficult times when they've gone throughout the continent with the fans, making them feel that you are away, this is our home, and we are going to give everything that we can. And the nations that they faced on the continent, that hostility that you talked about. So you don't want to face that same drama that you faced in the past, and ultimately at times that's cost Bafana Bafana in their qualifying campaigns. So they want to make sure this time around it doesn't happen. The good thing about what Tulani Tlachaya was saying was that it's for the first time since the 2006 and 2008 AFCON qualifiers where we'll be able to qualify back-to-back, AFCON qualifiers and make those tournaments. So it's a big thing for the players to ensure that something that hasn't been done in a very long time is actually done, and they're able to put a smile on South African football fans.
Well, the Bafana coach, Molefi Ntseki, has been quoted earlier today as expressing disappointment at the fact that he has so many players who are unavailable to travel, and he says it's against the spirit of the game. Is that some conversation that you've come across, especially when you look at the football that's taking place over these next few days in Europe? It is World Cup qualifiers across the European nations. All of those players are generally available, and yes, there is ease of access because within the European Union, obviously, but we don't hear the Portuguese coach, we don't hear the Netherlands or the Dutch coach, we don't hear any other coaches saying, well, we've got 5 players, 6 players, 7 players unavailable. Has that come up for discussion at all whilst you've been there this afternoon?
And you said it even for Monday's press conference, there was the frustration that a lot of these African countries are not in the same position as these European countries, where suddenly you find the major big stars that you have are not available because of the COVID-19 restrictions and the quarantine that they'll have to go through once they return to their clubs. And, Teki was saying that there needs to be a re-evaluation of the situation and a proper looking of why is it mostly affecting African countries? Can there be another situation that's, can be sorted out? Because, these qualifiers are big for these players. This is where the chance they try and get to show the rest of Europe and the rest of the world of what they can do. This is an opportunity for them to secure contracts, whether it's for specific clubs, whether it's sponsorship or endorsement deals or whatever the case may be. So now to actually then have one of the biggest competition on the African continent and not having the best players participating in it is a major, major blow. It's not a true reflection of what Africa has to, to show to the rest of the world. And when Relefinteke was saying, it's so sad that, with 2 legs of these qualifying rounds left, many African countries are finding that their big stars are around, but if you go to Europe, you find that, they have everybody, all the players that play in the La Ligas, in the English Premier League, when it's League One, they're all available, and there isn't the complaints that you're hearing from the national coaches from the African nations about players missing.
Unfortunately, because we have run out of time, but thank you so much for that wonderful in-depth reporting by Newzroom Afrika's Minentle Hlela. We'll certainly keep our finger on that pulse, but